Welcome to the regular Tuesday night meeting of the Front Royal Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. Could we open please with a serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I've asked Dan to come up and read how it works. I'm an alcoholic. How it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They're not at fault, they seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order, I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought.
Thank you, Dan.
Ask Wendy to come up and read the 12 traditions.
Hey, I'm Wendy and I'm an alcoholic. The 12 traditions. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority. A loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every AA ought to be fully self-supporting, declaring outside contributions. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. A public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any visitors here tonight?
I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Anthony.
We attended intergroup last Friday, and there is some talk of having Front Royal, Shenandoah, and Page counties combined under their own district. Well, we attended intergroup and district. I'll get it right. And anyway, there are so many meetings now that Winchester has to cover as far as districts go, that if we secede, no, if we just make our own, we can get some more service. We can get a lot more people involved in service work, which is what we're hoping to do. So you'll hear more about it. Well, I guess we're going to do the drawing for the door prize. If we're Bob, how are we doing over there?
We're doing pretty well.
Well, do we want to do that now, or do we not? Yeah? Okay. Actually, I don't have the announcement. Elaine has the announcement. So here's Elaine.
Hi, everybody. My name's Elaine, and I'm an alcoholic. I can't tell you how pleased and just honored I am tonight to be here to give Joe his 12-year chip to celebrate 12 years of sobriety. But when we were having dinner tonight, I was saying to him that I think what I like most about the relationship that we have is that we really live our program. And, since the day I met Joe, I mean, I've just never seen him not do it. He's a tremendous example to me and to, I think, everybody in the program. So I have a 12-year tip here. Been carrying it around since Friday.
This is 12 years of one day at a time for me. I mean, it's an honor to be up here receiving this, and and Wendy said it's 12 years a long time. I said, I haven't got a minute or a second longer sobriety than anybody in this room has if they haven't drank today, and that's the way I feel about my sobriety. Each day is a new day, and if it wasn't for everybody in this room, even people I don't even know, I'd be probably drinking today. So I want to thank everybody for helping me get this, and thank AA. So.
One announcement, Jeff.
Another announcement.
Winners group.
And the winners group this coming Saturday night in Linden, 7:30 to 8:30 is eating, and 8:30 to 9:30 is picking up chips. And next Tuesday, Earl will be celebrating 26 years. Isn't it, Earl? 26. That's all I've got. I'd like to bring Chris up to introduce our speakers, because he knows him a little better than I do.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Hi, everybody. Tonight's truly an honor for me to introduce our speaker tonight. His name is Bill F., and he lives actually in Timonium, Maryland, but he works at Father Martin's Ashley in Habit of Grace, Maryland, which is a treatment center. I came to know Bill when I stepped in the doors there, and he was one of the very first people that said, "It's going to be okay." And I looked at him like he had a third head sticking out of his neck. But he's truly a delightful man. Bill himself is celebrating, I believe, 20 years this year of sobriety. And I like what he has in life today. And one day when I grow up, I hope to have it as well. There's a few people in here tonight, Cheryl and my parents and a few other friends and Denise, that have had the opportunity to listen to Bill. And Cheryl and I, we spent a lot of time with Bill when we were in treatment up there. And to spend day in and day out with a gentleman like this is an absolute pleasure. And I wish he lived a lot closer, because I can use somebody like you closer to my life on a daily basis. But I really hope you enjoy him, and I know I do. And afterwards, please stick around and talk to him and listen to what he has to say. He's a great guy. Thanks. Bill?
You mind? I'm hot already. It's through the grace and the love of a very kind and caring God, my lovely wife Jenny, the programs of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, and some of my own efforts, that I am today a sober and a recovering alcoholic, and my name is Bill Feely. Hi, family. If I seem nervous, it means you're very astute and you're getting well. I was telling Elaine that I was telling Elaine that okay. Telling Elaine before the meeting that I often teach fairly large groups, the 12 and 12, the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, and I never get nervous. And whenever I chair a meeting where I tell my story, I get nervous. And my sponsor, who's an ex-Jesuit priest, and he's the first man I ever said I love you to, before I said it to my 4 sons and my 2 daughters. And he says, Bill, that's just God shaking the truth out of you. And so if I seem nervous, accept it as that, please. I like to tell a little story of myself that kind of helps to settle me down a little. I've been part of the space program of this country for about 25 years. And I even tilted a few with a couple astronauts. And they're quite a bunch of guys, by the way. And I was asked way back in, I guess, the early 70s, in 1971 or 2, to go downtown in Baltimore to a place called the Alcazar, which was a large meeting hall and a public building. And they said, we want you to talk on the program of space, Bill. And I said, I'm not a public speaker. You don't want me to speak about space. You know, I'm not a speaker. I would get nervous. I would get very... I said, Bill, look, it's going to be 18 or 20 people. And they'll like you. And they'll be friendly. And besides, if you make a mistake, we won't even know. Well, you don't tell a drunk that. So I thought 18 or 20 people, I can handle it. I went out that Friday night, and I got roaring drunk, as I did every Friday night. And got up Saturday morning, and I gave myself a shower and double pats of aftershave and throat lozenges and the eye drops. You know, prettied myself up. And I went downtown in Baltimore to the Alcazar, and I walked into this room, ladies and gentlemen, and there wasn't 18 or 20 people there. There was 85 people there. And I was hungover, and I was nervous, and I didn't want to be there, and my knees started to shake. And I called this guy over, and I said, is this a so-and-so group? He said, yeah, why? I said, hey, look, man, I was told there was going to be 18 or 20 people here. There's 85 people here. He says, you want me to tell 60 of them to go home? I said, no. I said, but you know, you should have got somebody else. No, you'll do fine. Well, the guy who was going to introduce me didn't show up. He was in an automobile accident, but I didn't know that at the time. So at the appointed hour, I got up and I looked at my watch and I said, mind you now, I'm hungover, I don't want to be there, and I'm very nervous. I got up, I said, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I said, my name, and I created a spoonerism. I said, my name is Phil Bealey. Well, nobody laughed because they didn't know my name. And I stood there stunned. And I thought, I'm not going to tell them I don't know my name. Because if I tell them I don't know my name, they're not going to believe a thing I say about the space program. So I went on and I gave this little talk about the space program, and after the meeting they came up and said, hey, Phil, that was pretty good. I said, good, thank you, you know. Let it go. Hell, I'll never see these people again. Well, it was a couple of years later, and Jenny and I are walking across the parking lot in Baltimore in one of the big shopping malls, and this guy comes running across the lot hollering, hey, Phil, Phil! Well, I kept walking because my name's Bill. And he stopped me at the curb, grabs me by the elbow and spins around and says, Bill, don't you remember me? And then it dawned on me why he was calling me Phil. And I said to him, yeah, I said, May 27th, 1972, 10:30 a.m., Saturday morning, the Alcazar. He said, my God, what a memory. Jenny was standing alongside of me a little bit baffled, and the guy says, yeah, well, you really have some memory there. I said, let me tell you something. I said, that morning I was so nervous and I was so hungover, I created a spoonerism. I told you my name was Phil Bealey, but my name isn't Phil Bealey, my name is Bill Feely. And he looked at me, And he shrugged and he looked at Jenny and winked at her and patted me on the back, and he turned and he's walking away. He says, "You'll always be Phil to me." So I want you to know, ladies and I want you to know I'll answer to Phil or I'll answer to Bill. I come from a large Irish Catholic family, 6 sisters and 3 brothers. I'm the oldest. If you were born in the 20s, and I was, and you were a straight A student, and I was, and you were Irish and Catholic, and I am, you were going into the seminary. It's okay with me. I thought I'd make a good priest. I thought I'd enjoy it. When I was growing up, ladies and gentlemen, I went every weekend to a seminary. Every weekend. Right up into my teens, to my mid-teens. I knew Gregorian chant before I knew anything about women. And when it came time to go into the seminary, a friend of the family, a Monsignor, said, "Bill, we need people with vocations, and it's a lifelong thing. It's not so much anymore, but it was then. It's for life, so really think it over, son." So you know what I did? I joined the Navy to think it over. Does that tell you something? It sure as hell should have told me something, but it didn't. It didn't. And well, anyway, when I went in the Navy, that's when I really started my drinking. And I thought, man, this stuff is like an elixir. When I drink it, I'm lighter, I'm friendlier, I can dance better, sing better, love better, fight better. Whew! Who's been hiding this stuff from me all these years? Well, while I was over in the Mediterranean on one of my 5th or 6th trips, I was at the Vatican and I had audience with Pope Pius XII. Now mind you, I'm standing there in my sailor uniform. And this man, he was only about so high, spoke 9 languages fluently. He weaved his way down through the crowd and he got this close to me. And I was awestruck. I don't know if I stepped on his foot, kicked his knee, kissed his ring. I just knew I was ready to, I was like, I couldn't speak, I didn't think. And he said to me in perfect English after he studied my uniform for a while, he said, "Where are you from, son?" I don't know where I told him I was from. I hope I told him it was Baltimore, but I don't know where I told him. And I went back to the ship that night and I took that as a sign. "Bill, that's a sign. God wants you to go home and be a priest." So I went home and my mind's made up. I'm going to be a priest. Well, my sister Betty was getting married. And the maid of honor was this tall, strikingly beautiful lady who's with me tonight. And I was in my sailor suit, and I was drinking, because you don't go to weddings sober. And I looked at her at one time, and I stood there and I just said, "That's it, God, you don't want me to be a priest." I said, "If you wanted me to be a priest, you'd never put Jenny in front of me." Now, I'm not going to tell you much of a drunkard, and you know why? Because if you say my name's Arlene and I'm an alcoholic, or Joe, or Elaine, or Jim and I'm an alcoholic, you don't have to say any more. I know more about you than your mother does. I know about your paranoia, your pain, your loneliness, your fear, your anger, your arrogance, your aggressiveness, your rage. I know all about that because I've been there. And the minute you say I'm an alcoholic, you're one of me and I'm one of you. And I'll tell you, when Jenny and I first got married, oh my. I mean, I was so nuts about her from the first day I met her. It was like, what in the hell ever made me think I wanted to be a priest? Well, the first 9 years we were married, we had 3 children. But those first 9 years, ladies and gentlemen, I was drunk every night, I was sick every morning, and I did that 7 days a week, for every month, for every year, for 9 years. Didn't miss a day. Didn't miss a day. And I know you'll be able to relate to me when I say this. At the end of those 9 years, I couldn't handle another drink, and I couldn't handle another drunk. It was either stop or die, and that's where I was. And nobody said to me, "Bill, get help. You're gonna die if you don't. You're gonna kill somebody. You go to AA." Nobody said that to me. I knew nothing of AA, nothing. So I went to Jenny, my mom and dad, my priest, my doctor, and I said, "Please help me. Please," and they did. They were great support. Well, you know something, ladies and gentlemen? For the next 14 years, without AA, I didn't touch a drop. Didn't touch a drop. Was that sober? No. I was dry. I was a dry drunk. It was a long, painful 14 years. During those 14 years, we had 3 more children. You see, alcoholics do everything with gusto. And I went from a mediocre position in my company to right outside the corner office. I passed people I should never have passed. I wound up running the largest department in my company. I had 257 professionals reporting to me. I was making big bucks. I had 6 kids in private school. I was doing great. There were people below me who should have been above me. And I'm not being humble, I'm being honest. I'm being honest. Do you know why I did so well? Because if ever they wanted something set up, no matter what it was or where it was, you send Bill Feely. You know why you sent Bill Feely? He was good with details, and he doesn't drink. And he doesn't drink. So, man, I just went, whew. We're out one night of all things celebrating a nice promotion and a nice salary increase. And we're sitting in the restaurant. Every time I think about this, I get a chill. And I said to Jenny, do you know what would cap off the evening, Jenny? No, Bill. What? What? I said, a nice cold drink. Now, mind you, I had nothing for 14 years. She said to me, Bill, you've done well by us for 14 years. You do what you think is right. I wish she had said to me, Turkey, don't do it. And I'm an incessant note taker. I am to this day. I break out my pad and my pen, and I said, I'm only going to have 3 drinks tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who does that? Who hasn't had a drink for 14 years? Alcoholics. You know, duh. Bartender, I'll have a drink. And when he brought the drink over, down, and it hit the table, and I looked at that beautiful lady, and I saw a look of terror that I hadn't seen for 14 years. She didn't say a word. She just stared at me, but I could see the pain. I could see the loneliness already. She didn't say a word. True to my word, I only had 3 drinks that night. On the way home, I said, look at me, Jen. I'm not driving erratically. I'm not slurring my words. I didn't raise my fist. I'm not angry. I'm not fighting. I'm cured. Didn't say a word. We got home that night. We're making ready for bed. And I said to her, Jen, I know what I've done wrong all these years, and I'll never, ever do it again. And she finally broke the silence. What, Bill? What did you do wrong all these years? I said, I had more than 3 drinks in one day, and I'll never do that again. The next day, ladies and gentlemen, I had a case of beer and a fifth of whiskey. And in 5 days, I knew what they meant by the progression of the disease. I knew what it meant to be all of the things I just mentioned a moment ago. Suspicious, jealous, angry, alone, lonely, bewildered, in pain, in 5 days. It came crashing in on me like something that was just unbelievable. And for the next 5 years, I was to put that beautiful lady and my 6 children through a living hell. You know, you'll hear the saying, alcohol taught me to fly and then it took away my sky. Well, in my case, it took me to hell and I held them hostage with me in hell for 5 more years. And why she stuck by me, I don't know. I know what she's told me all these years. But I really don't know. At the end of 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, Jenny left me. My 6 children would not speak to me. I was planning a suicide. I was at the lowest ebb in my life. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be on this earth. I've heard many people say when my spouse left me, it was the best thing ever happened because now I could drink the way I wanted. When my spouse left me, I was one miserable son of a gun. Didn't like being in the house alone. Didn't like no one to talk to. I didn't like any of that. I believe me when I tell you this. I was dreading it minute by minute by minute. I would pace the floor and I couldn't sleep. And I didn't want to be where I was. And she wouldn't take my calls for a period of time. And one night I called her and she finally answered the phone. And she said to me, Bill, I hear you're going to some meetings. She meant, I hear you're getting help. And I said, yeah, Jen, I'm going to some meetings. And then she said something that just brought me instantly to tears. She said, can I go with you? I thought, go to hell. At that time, we'd been married 28 years. You know what I thought for sure? I thought after 28 years, she was going to say, bye-bye, bozo. I had enough of you. These kids are grown now. I don't have to put up with you and your crap anymore. I just don't need it, and I'm not going to take it. I'll use her words, not mine. She said, Bill, let me tell you something. In all of that time, I never stopped loving you, but there were times I couldn't stand your ass. Then I knew exactly what she meant. I knew exactly what she meant. Well, when I went to the meeting that night, we talked a lot. I was ready to do everything all over again. Date her, make love to her, tell her how beautiful she is and she is, tell her how great I am and I'm not. You see, I was ready to do all of those things that people in love do. And you know, a miracle happened. I got well, ladies and gentlemen, and she decided to get well with me. And you know, for the first 10 years of my sobriety, the first 10 years, she went to every single meeting with me. We got ill together, and here we were getting well together. Do you know what a joy that is? We used to go home at night, and we'd sit out in front, and we'd talk in the car. And I know our neighbors thought I was there with some other woman or something. I don't know what the hell they thought. But we'd sit there and talk. And she said, Bill, what would you have said if they called on you? And I would tell her. And I said, what would you say, Jen? And she'd tell me. And you know what we didn't realize we were doing? We were communicating on a level of love and didn't know we were doing it. We were communicating where we should have been for the last 28 years, you see. And those 28 years, I was too busy building a career. I was too busy climbing the ladder of success. I didn't have time for Jenny. I didn't have time for my 6 children. And there are things, ladies and gentlemen, to this day that I could rip my tongue out for. I never abused them physically. I gave Jenny a black eye once. And I felt so sick and so in pain that I never did that again, ever. But I could cut her to shreds with my words, and I could do that to my 6 kids. Make them feel less than loved, less than important, less than nice. Because that disease does that to us. It lifts our inhibitions. It takes away the things that make us respectable and calm and pleasant and loving. It takes everything away that's important and leaves us with an empty shell and an empty head. And I believe that with all my heart. My father was the hero of my life. He was the John Wayne of my life. I wanted to be just like my dad. Tall, I'm not tall. Handsome, I'm not handsome. Charming, I'm not charming. He was witty, he was a leader, he was lovable, he was smart. And you know something? When my father died, I stood at graveside with my brothers and sisters, and I copped a resentment. Because I stood there and I thought, you know something? I was my father's first son, firstborn. Guess what? He never said, I love you. And he never hugged me. And I copped a resentment. And I carried that resentment around for years. And when I was standing at the graveside, I don't mean to be crude, but I thought to flip the coffin open and hug him. I didn't, but I wanted to. I wanted to. And I was sitting in a meeting one night with my sponsor, and I said to him, you know something, Charlie? When some of these people share, when they talk about that pain, that deep down pain that nobody else understands but us other alcoholics, I said, it's like they're talking with part of me. It's like my voice and my soul is saying up there the things that they feel, the things that they need. And my sponsor can get a whole paragraph out of me by just saying, and? He would say, and I go, brrr. And he'd look at me and smile and say, and I go, brrr. I think I just about did my whole fist step that way. And I said, I get the urge, Charlie, when they share like that, when I feel that pain and I can feel it, I want to hug them, Charlie. He says, go hug them, Bill. I says, man, you can't just hug somebody. He says, in AA, you can do anything you want. I says, okay, I'll tell you what, Charlie, the first time that I see a woman share that I can relate to, I'll give her a hug. He looks at me and says, you know something, Bill? He says, you're sick. I said, well, Charlie, I ain't hugging no men. He said, okay, Bill, start with a woman. When you can relate, give her a hug. Well, back in Baltimore was a lady named Dolly Stevenson. Dolly passed away 2 years ago, Jenny. I was a pallbearer at her funeral. Remarkable lady. She helped so many, male and female. She saved so many lives. Dolly was tall, stately, a most unusual lady. And she shared one night, she talked about, she went out Christmas Eve and bought gifts for her 3 children and a fifth of whiskey. And she went home and sat on the steps that came down to her living room in front of the fireplace, and she polished off the whole fifth of whiskey. And she passed out across the gifts. And she said when the 3 kids got up the next morning, the stockings weren't stuffed, the gifts weren't wrapped, and she made the comment, it was a Christmas I never forgot, and it was one they never forgot. And boy, could I relate to that. I never did just that, but I ruined July 4th, Easter, vacations, anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas, didn't matter, New Year's, because of my drinking. And I went up after the meeting, I said to Dolly, Dolly, can I have a hug, please? And mind you now, this is the first time I'm hugging someone other than my wife in my life. Do you know at that point, all of my children are grown, and I never hugged them, and I never said I love you. I did the exact same thing my father did, and I didn't know it. And I went up to Dolly after the meeting. I said, Dolly, can I have a hug? And she said, sure, Bill. And I put my arms around Dolly, and I thought, man, this feels good. And she gave me one of these. Are you done yet? And I let go, and I said to her, Dolly, that was great. And she said, all right. You know, they can bust your bubbles so damn quick. And I went home that night, and Jenny and I went in the house, and out of my 6 children, I have 4 sons and 2 daughters, and all 4 of my boys are 6 feet or taller. And Big Mike, you got to see Big Mike. He's about 6'3", weightlifter, football player, wears them cowboy boots. I can lay my nose right across his belt buckle. I mean, he's one big, powerful man. And he was the only one home that night. Mike at that time was 21 years old. And I walked in, and I said, Michael, come here, son. And he walked over, and I said, Mike, I never told you this before, but I love you, Michael. And he stepped back. And Jenny says, no, Mike, Dad's not drinking. He thought I was drinking. And then I made the fatal mistake. I said, Michael, come here and give me a hug. And this giant, this child in this man's body came over and put his arms around me and just kept pulling in. And the air rushed out of my lungs. And my eyes rolled back. And my first sick thought was, go to hell, he's getting even with me. I thought he's got me where he wants me and he's going to kill me. And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you I was frightened. I want you to know I was frightened because he kept squeezing. And I thought, he's going to bust my ribs. And Jenny comes over and says, Mike, I think you're hurting your father. And Michael looked down at me, and he had tears coming down his cheeks. And I couldn't share this in a meeting for the longest time. And I said to him, Michael, are you okay, son? Yeah, Dad, why? I says, man, because you're holding on like it's the end of the world. He said, Dad, can I tell you something? He said, I waited all my life for this. Can I hold on for a while? I said, yeah, but don't do it so damn hard. And when he let go, I swear I thought my ribs were going to go boing. And I come home from work the next day, and I walk into the living room, and I put my briefcase down, and Mike leaps up out of the kitchen. He comes running in, and I said, stop. I said, what'd you have in mind, Mike? He says, a hug, Dad. I said, wait a minute, Mike. Wait a minute. I says, you give that hug to your mother. She'll give it to me later. When these bruises go away, we'll talk about what's a fair hug. And you know something, though? Mind you, 21 years, it broke a wall down that had been between us. We would wrestle on the floor, and he would let me win. He could mess my hair, and that was okay. He could call me old man, and I didn't mind. And to this day, when I see my 4 boys and my 2 girls, I hug them, say I love you, and shake hands in that order. And I still do that to this day. But I also learned some valuable lessons about that from these rooms, from you people, from AA. I was telling a story down in Ocean City, and the guy in the back of the room raised his hand, and he said, hey, Bill, can I have a hug? And I said, wait a minute. I said, I'm not into hugging anybody but my wife and kids right now. He said, but I'm an alcoholic, Bill. You know something? Made sense. I said, okay, after the meeting, you got a hug. When the meeting broke up, he went out the back door, I went out the side door, never saw the guy. And I thought, phew, got out of that one okay. A couple of years later, I'm standing in the Columbia Mall with my boss. My boss comes about up to here on me. This guy comes in from the other side of the mall. Please picture this. Long hair down to here. A Mennonite beard, full but trimmed. Cigarettes rolled up in his T-shirt. Dungarees cut off at the thighs. Desert boots on with a sheath and a knife stuck in it. A wooden rack on his back and a knapsack in it. And he hollers, hey, Bill! And I thought, who in the hell is that? And my boss turns to me and says, Bill, I think he's... I said, nah, I don't know who that is. And I start watching people. I'm doing what I never did when I drank. I'm looking you in the eye. Because when I drank, I could never do that. I could look above you or through you or around you, but never, ever at you. And he comes over, ladies and gentlemen, he acts like my boss isn't there. He stands this close to me. He's that much taller than I am. He's got the bluest eyes I have ever seen on a man or woman to this day. And he says in a loud, booming, clear voice, he looks like something stepped out of the movies. He says in a loud, booming, clear voice, hey, Bill, been 2 years since Ocean City, and I've been wanting to hug you ever since. Well, everybody in the place looks. And my boss gives me one of these. And my voice broke up, and I said, gee, that's nice. And then he said to me, and I was flattered, ladies and gentlemen, that after a couple of years he remembered my name and my son Michael's name. He said, when you told that story that night, Bill, I went home, and what you did with Michael, I did in reverse with my father. He said, I walked over to my dad, and I gave him a hug, and I said, I love you. He says, and my father cried. He said, you know something, Bill? You talk about the miracle of AA and the things that happen with people who share. He said, my father has never been sick a day in his life. That was Thursday night when you chaired that meeting, and I did that. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, he was dead. He said, never was I so glad I hugged a man, and never was I so glad I said I love you to him. And he picks all 200 pounds of me up, puts me down, and takes off. I don't know his name to this day, but I still pray for him. And I still thank him, because he taught me one of the great lessons of this program. When I see you, and that's why I call everybody an AA family, because when Jenny left me, when my kids wouldn't talk to me, you were my family. You cared for me, you looked out for me, you took care of me when I couldn't care for myself. And I have never, ever forgotten that. Never. And you know something? To this very day, I think I have the most wonderful family a man could have. Joe's celebrating 12 years tonight. At my 12th anniversary, Big Mike, the guy who started all the hugging in my life, was at that anniversary. You got to know Mike. We call him the gentle giant. As big as he is, that's how quiet and gentle he is. He doesn't let his size not take over. He doesn't let it buffalo people. He raised his hand in the meeting. The meeting hadn't even started yet. There was, 150 people there, Jenny? At my 12th anniversary. He said, Dad, I want everybody in this meeting to know, when you joined AA 12 years ago, I forgave you. He says, and after watching you for 12 years, I don't know what in the hell I'm supposed to be upset about. Well, you know, to me, that was the purest forgiveness, openly given, that I have ever had, that I have ever experienced. He doesn't remember what he should be upset about. And I said, man, is that recovery or is that recovery? So you see, I didn't just get well, but he did. Jenny did. My other kids did. We got sick together, and by God, we were getting well together. I have a little Jenny joke for you. She's good, I'll tell you. She is good. These two women get on the plane, they're flying out to California. And the one was young and nervous, and she had never flown before, and she thought, well, maybe if I strike up a conversation with this lady next to me, you know, it'll work out real nice. And she turns to her and she says, hi, where are you from? And the lady gives a slow turn and says, my dear, you never end a sentence with a preposition. She says, oh, where are you from, bitch? That's a Jenny joke, and here's a Billy joke. Young alcoholic, sober 9 months, got 2 children, been out of work for over a year. Wants a job so bad he can taste it. He'll do anything. Sweep floors, wash toilet, anything, just to get a job, just to take care of his family. He's living the program and he wants to stay sober. So he sees this one ad in the paper and he says, I can do that. He said, you know what I'll do? I'll get down there at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be the first one in line. And I'll impress them. I'll get that job. Well, he goes down at 5 a.m. and believe it or not, there's another guy in front of him. So, you know, he's really discouraged. The first guy goes in now, the personnel director has no ears. The first guy goes in, he sits down, the personnel director says to him, son, do you notice anything unusual about me? He said, well, yes, sir, you don't have any ears. He says, next. He says, how about the interview? He says, next. He goes out and he says to the guy in line who really wants the job, he says, man, when you go in there, don't notice you don't have any ears, because if you do, you not only won't get the job, he won't even talk to you. Thanks for the tip. Goes in, he sits down, he says, son, he says, just a minute, sir. I want you to know, he says, I'm sober 9 months, I have 2 children, I'm happily married, I work out, I go to bed early every night, I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning, and guess what? I would be good for you, good for my family, and good for this company. The personal director says, I'm mighty impressed. Do you notice anything unusual about me, young man? He says, yes, sir. He says, you're wearing contact lenses. He said, how'd you know that? He said, hell, if you had ears, you'd be wearing glasses. You know, I had a young man not too long ago say to me, come up, you know, talking out of the side of his mouth, Bill, you've been sober a long time, what's the secret? And I thought, what's he talking about, what's the secret? He says, you know, he says, there must be something that you do that's different from anybody else. I says, my friend, it's those 12 beautiful steps. And they're open to anybody. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, there are over 50-some groups ending in the word anonymous worldwide? And there's more of them growing every day. Every single day. The steps. Dr. Bob gave a definition of the 12 steps in 6 words. Trust God, clean house, help others. Trust God, steps 1, 2, and 3. Clean house, this house, step 4 through 11. And help others, step 12. Trust God, clean house, help others. The first 3 steps, I can't, he can, I think I'll let him. I can't, and he can, and I think I'll let him. And to show you how magnificently this is put together, step 4 is a get ready step for 5. Step 6 is a make ready step for 7. Step 8 is a preparation step for step 9. And step 10, 11, and 12 are the maintenance steps. Think about it. I'm powerless. There's an order of forgiveness. Dear God, forgive me. Thank you for forgiving me. I forgive me. Now I can forgive you. Do you realize how powerful and potent these 12 steps are? Do you realize they can teach you to love and laugh and live and be happy? To do things you never thought you could do before? To have a mission in life and a plan to follow that mission? To have a goal in life and have a roadmap to take you there? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, anything that can do for you what those 12 steps can. How many of you here have children, young or grown? Can I see? So we did a lot of things besides just drinking. Somebody asked me in a meeting if I could describe what it was like for my 6 children when I drank. I said I could talk for hours and not tell you everything. And then Jenny and I went to see a play called Fiddler on the Roof. And I'm going to read 8 lines to you that tells everything that happened to my children and to me. So if you would, those who have children, grown or small, close your eyes just for these 8 lines so you don't miss any of the meaning of it. And I have to read it so I don't lose it. Is that the little girl I carried? And is that the little boy at play? I don't remember growing older. When did they? When did she get to be such a beauty? And God, when did he grow to be so tall? Wasn't it just yesterday when they were small? Sunrise, sunset. And ladies and gentlemen, I missed everything between the sunrise and sunset of my 6 children from the time they were born till the day they were grown men and women. And that troubled me for a long, long time. I didn't think I could stay sober because of that. And my sponsor gave me a phrase I will never forget. It's emblazoned on my soul. Bill, he said, alcoholism won't excuse anything that you did. But you better thank God Almighty that it explains everything that you did. And it's true. That this disease won't excuse it, but it will explain it. And I tell my lovely Jenny to this day, Jenny, guess what? All of the angry, arrogant, aggressive, bizarre things I did when I drank, I don't do them anymore. And do you know why? Because I don't drink. I told you out of my 6 sisters and 3 brothers, I'm the oldest. They're all stone gray but me. And trust me, I do nothing with my hair except wash it and comb it. You know what Jenny says? She says, you know why your hair is still dark and preserved? I said, no. She says, you were pickled so long it preserved it. She's probably right. Whoops. Sorry about that. Yeah. I gotta tell you just a little bit about this lady who saved my life. And she did. She has a most remarkable sense of humor. I mean, a unique sense of humor. Talking to a guy, and I used to call him, oh, Mr. Yeah, but. I felt like I wanted to punch him in the nose every time he said that. He would sit and listen to me for 10 minutes, and he'd be nodding the whole time. Oh, yeah, Bill. Yeah, mm-hmm. And when I get done, he'd say, yeah, but. And I told Jenny, he says that one more time, I'm going to cold cock him. So he calls up one night, and I mean, he's really, oh, man, I just want to get off that phone and go get a hot shower and go to bed. And I hang up the phone, and Jenny says to me, Mr. Yeah, but? I said, yeah. She said, Bill, have you ever wondered why the sickest of the sick asked you to be their sponsor? I said, yeah, I have. I says, yeah, I have wondered about that. Do you know the answer? And she started to laugh and walked out of the room. And I thought, oh, I know, because I'm so sick. That's why they asked me. I said, Jen, why don't you come out and say it? She said, I knew you'd figure it out. She's a great lady. I love her. I always will. I want to tell you a few things about us. In another few months, I'll be sober 20 years. On my birthday, a week after I'm sober 20 years, my number 3 son, Brian, will be sober 12 years. You have no idea what a joy that is, Joe, to have it, your own child, get well with you. When my son is sober 12 years, I'll be 70 years old. I know I don't look it. In December, Jenny and I will be married 49 years. What? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Trust me when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's her, not me, that's owing to. I did something last August I've always wanted to do. And, this is one of the fruits of sobriety. When I got sober, I said, all the things I missed in my children's life, I'm not missing in my grandchildren's life. Believe me, I'm not. And, I'm spoiling the hell out of them and loving it. And I have 10 grandchildren, all who were born after I quit drinking. And all I know about me is I'm this little short, fat, brown-eyed guy who's happy most of the time. But if they'd ever seen me in a drunken rage, they wouldn't come near me. Believe me, they would not come near me. And the youngest one is little Chris, who's 2 years old. And he calls up, and Jenny answers the phone. And he says, Pop, talk. And she wants to talk to him. She says, well, wait a minute, Chris. And he hangs up. He wants to talk to me. He don't want to talk to her. Well, out of our 10 kids, this is the only one who really, like a magnet to me. And I love it. And I think it hurts her a little bit. She says to me, why did you do that, Bill? I said, oh, honey, it's just a little baby. I'm going, yeah. Who knows? Who cares why he does it? I mean, the other 9 thinks that the sun rises and sets in her. And here's one who says, hey, Pop. The things we go through, it's amazing. Anyway, these children are very special to me. And I'm allowed to do some things for them that I couldn't do for my own children. And I wanted to do something, and I'm telling you this just for one reason, because it made me so happy. Because it was one of the rewards of sobriety. It's the kind of things that only sober people can understand and can enjoy. And last August, I took my 4 sons, my 2 daughters, 4 daughter-in-laws, 2 son-in-laws, 10 grandchildren, Jenny and I, it's 24 if you want to count them. And I rented a bus with color TV. And I took all of them down to Williamsburg and Busch Gardens. Had all the motel rooms in a row on the first floor right next to the pool. I paid for everything. When I got the bill, I was sucking air, let me tell you. I said to Jenny, what the hell did I do? What did I do, Jen? And I had all of them. Now, I want you to picture this. We have a big picture on our refrigerator and a book we put together on it. I had all red shirts made for them. Embroidered here was the name. Over here it said Fieldley Family Festival of Fun. On the back was this tree with all 24 names. Bill and Jenny and the date and the place. And we get down to Busch Gardens, right? And we're going to get a picture so I get them all to wear them. My grandson Michael, who's 16, says, hey, Pop, I can't get any chicks with this shirt. I says, Mike, do me a favor, would you? Humor me. Wear it just for today. Okay, son? Okay, Pop, just for today. Well, Jenny and I were in the Italian section having a pizza and some soda. And Michael comes running up. He's out of breath. He says, hey, Pop, the shirt, it's like a magnet. I says, oh, what's happening, Mike? He says, they walk up and they say to me, they see my name. They say, hi, Mike. He says, you know my name already. I'm a Fieldley, too. My name's on the top of the tree. He says, can I wear the shirt every day? I says, you can wear it till it wears out, Mike. So you see how they change? But, what a joy. And on the way back, we're on the bus. And it was 24 of us and I think 6 from other people who filled the bus. This boy's 16. He goes up and he borrows the mic. And he said, I know boys 16 aren't supposed to be very emotional or very in touch with their feelings. He said, but I want you to know that I think My grandmother and grandfather are the greatest. And if you knew my pop, he says, you love them just like we do. I thought, go to hell. And they started applauding. And I just sat down and I started to cry. And I thought, damn, the sobriety is great, you know. I always want to tell people, get drunk so you can get sober, man. You don't know what you're missing. You know, you've heard this bit about a falling down drunk? Well, I was a falling up, falling out drunk. I fell up steps and out of showers. Never fell down steps. But like a lot of people who are alcoholics, we do things in reverse. We do things in reverse. My son Michael, did you notice I didn't talk a whole lot about my drunk log tonight? That was on purpose. Because you know what I'm about is recovery. That's what I'm about. I'm about getting well and staying well. I'm about looking at the things in life I never had time to look at before. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were to tell you how much I enjoyed life, I would be embarrassed, and you might be too. I told my sponsor one time, I said, when I go into a meeting and I sit down and I hear all that pain, I said, I'm almost ashamed, Charlie, to feel as good as I feel. He said, Bill, don't you dare hide it. He said, you let them know that they can get where you are someday. So when I first joined AA, the first year, I gained 85 pounds. If that sucker didn't move, I ate it. I was so happy to be sober, and I'd walk into a meeting, and this one lady would say to me, hi, how you doing, Bill? And I said, man, if I felt any better, I'd have to be twins. One night she looked at me and she says, you get any bigger, you're going to be twins. So I stopped saying that. I believe with all my heart that we in AA and Al-Anon are God's entertainment committee. I do. I think he's up there oft times nudging St. Peter saying, Pete, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Because we come up with some stuff. He's got to roll around the floors of heaven laughing. I mean, stop and think about it. How he loved us to give us this program. Huh? And who did he give it to? 2 professors? 2 CEOs? 2 scientists? 2 doctors? No, he gave it to 2 very, very lonely, painful, at that point, unsuccessful alcoholics. And look what we're giving to the world. We're giving a program, ladies and gentlemen, that may, in many cases, become the salvation of this old earth of ours. Think if we had a program for everybody in the world, including countries. Saddam Hussein, get your butt in here, and you better get busy making amends or you're in big trouble. You know, stop and think about it. Everything about this program says healing, wellness. You know, you take the steps in order, guess what? Each step takes you to a new level of healing, a new level of wellness. And you know something? There's a guy in Baltimore who I think, Lamar, who says it absolutely perfect. He says this is the only place in the world where you can get weller than well. And I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. You can get weller than well. I want to tell you just a couple stories and I'm done. I'm not a reformed drunk. I'm a transformed alcoholic. I went from the pain and ugliness and loneliness of my disease to being a fairly happy guy, to being one who's in love with life, who's in love with the world, and not ashamed to tell anybody. Just want to tell you, hugging can get you in trouble. I'm in the supermarket with Jenny, and she's getting lunch meat, and I'm standing there. She says, guard the cart. And I'm a good, sober husband. I'm guarding that damn cart. And right about the last guy in the row here, what's your name? Yes, sir. What, Don? Guy. Hold your hand up a minute, Guy. You see how far he's away from me? Well, I'm standing here guarding the cart. Jenny's getting lunch meat, and there's 2 beautiful young ladies back where Guy is, and they're looking in my direction and pointing and smiling. And I thought it was a young buck behind me. And I turned to my left, and nobody was there. And I turned to my right, and nobody was there. I said, the old man's probably still got it. And this one, yeah, you're right. And this one gal comes up to me, and the other one stays back where a guy is, and she's a little bitty thing, and she gets up on her toes, and she said to me, "Are you the hugger?" Well, the minute she said that, I knew it was AA. And I said, "Yeah, hon, I'm the hugger." She says, "Mary, it's him." Well, with this, Mary comes up, and the first gal says to me, "Can I have a hug?" And back home, I'm known as the hugger. And I said, "Sure." And I give her a hug. And Mary gets real nervous, and she says to me, "Sir, I'm not an alcoholic, but can I have a hug too?" And I said, "Yes, you get two of them." And I give her two hugs. And I turn, they're walking away, and they're smiling, and they're one like this. I feel like I'm about 9 feet tall, because all these people in the supermarket saw these two beautiful ladies come up and give me a big hug. And Jenny walks over to the lunch meeting, and she says, "Who is that, hon?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "What do you mean you don't know?" I says, "Jen, I'll tell you later." She says, "No, you'll tell me now." I said, "Well, hon," I said, "the one girl was in AA, and I think the other one was in Al-Anon, and it just wanted a hug." She says, "Look, I don't mind you giving them a hug, Bill, but the next time you get their name. So I want you to know, women, you're automatic hugs, but I got to know your name. Men, if you want a hug, you got to ask." My son Michael has two boys. They're complete opposites. One's a great athlete, extrovert, charming, handsome. Josh is just the opposite, a dreamer, plays the violin beautifully. He had done something to displease Big Mike. Our 6 kids said to us, "We don't want any interference in our marriage," and we have honored that. We have never gotten into their marriage unless they invited us in. And Josh had done something to displease Big Mike, and Big Mike turned around and said, "Look, you little wimp. And you know something? I wanted to get up and grab him and just shake the hell out of him and say, 'Look, don't you do that. That's the kind of crap that I did when I drank, and you don't even drink, so don't you do that.' I didn't, but I wanted to." And Jenny and I were up in New Hampshire, and I love to photograph old barns and covered bridges. And we're lost in some backcountry road. And there was a one-room church. I bet it was half the size of this room. Poor, dilapidated little church, back in the woods. And it had this beautiful sign out front made of Canadian cedar and chrome. It looked like it cost more than the church. But guess what it said on it? I don't know who said it. I don't know where it came from, but someday I'm going to find out. It is easier to build a child than it is to repair a man. And I said, I'm going home and I'm going to tell Michael that. I know I said I wouldn't interfere, but he's got to know that if you build a child with love and care and healing and hope and hugs, you never have to repair him. And I went home and I got him on the side and I said to him, "Michael, understand something. You raised Josh and your son Michael with love and care and guidance and hugs, and guess what? You never have to repair him, son. I've been in the repair business at that time 16 years, and you know something? I may never be out of the repair business. But you don't ever have to get into it." It's helped him. It's helped the family a lot. And it's helped other people I've talked to and talked about. I'm going to tell you one story that I was reluctant to tell, but when I told it, it helped one guy so much. You know, you never know what to say. You never know what to share. So I just try to share feelings. I just try to share what I feel in my soul and nothing else. In the 20 years that I have been sober, I have made amends to my lovely wife 4 times. 4 times. Each time after the first time she said, "Bill, it isn't necessary. You don't have to do that. I know what you think and like about the 9th and 10th step, but it isn't necessary. I mean, the 8th and 9th step, but it isn't necessary." I said, "Jenny, it isn't for you, it's for me. So please let me make this amend, please." I get up 5 a.m. every morning. Mondays, Sundays, weekends, holidays, vacations, doesn't matter. I just wake up at 5 and I'm up. Well, this one night I slept rather fitfully. And I woke up at 4 in the morning. And I look over at this beautiful, fair-skinned, gray, white-haired lady laying next to me, and she's on her back sound asleep. And I thought, God, she's beautiful. And she's mine. You know, I'm really feeling good about that. And I put my chin in my hand and I was just staring at her. And I got one of these from her. Didn't lift her head up and didn't turn, she just went. She said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm looking at you. She said, I know. Why? I said, Jed, I have to make an amend. Bill, I said, I know it isn't necessary. Please let me make the amend. And I share this only because of the pain, but more importantly because of how wonderful the good Lord has been to me in giving me that lady. I said, I came home one night, Jenny, and I was drunk, and my self-esteem was down in the cellar, and I didn't want anybody getting in front of me. I didn't want anybody challenging me. I didn't want anybody talking to me. That's how sick and how lonely and how pained I was that night. And I walked into the house. She stood in front of me. It was in the wee hours of the morning. She said, are you okay, Bill? I said, Jen, please leave me alone. She said, I just want to make sure you're okay. I'll go to bed now. And she started to walk away, and then she turned back, and I said, Jen, get out of my face. Please let me alone. And she wanted to ask me something, and I don't know what it was. But the anger and the rage and the pain that builds up in us, and I mean it's like something that's waiting to explode. And I looked her right in her beautiful green eyes of hers, and I said to her, look, you whore, get out of my way. And I said, I want to apologize for that, Jenny. I'm so sorry. She said, yeah, Bill, you know, the next day I had to explain to one of our kids what that word meant. And at that point I could have ripped my tongue out. And I said, please forgive me, Jenny. And you know what she said? She said, Bill, I knew that wasn't you. I knew that was alcoholism talking. I knew that was your ugly disease talking. I knew that wasn't you. And I thought, wow, is this something or is this something? And I kissed her on the cheek. And I said, I'm going to go make a couple of coffees and we'll sit on the deck and watch the sun come up. And as I started out of the room and I got just about to the doorway, she said, Bill, wait a minute. And I stopped and turned around. I said, yeah, honey, what is it? She said, Bill, I want you to know something. I said, what's that, Jen? She said, if I'd have been a whore, I'd have been a great one. I mean, all I could do was go run over and give her a kiss and a hug. And I said, you're great. She said, go make me a coffee. You know as well as I do, ladies and gentlemen, that we don't own the next breath. We don't own the next heartbeat. The only thing we have is right now, right this second. We don't own anything else. But if you're going to be sober, be it now. If you're going to be healthy, be it now. If you're going to be a success, be it now. If you're going to be in love, be it now. Because you don't own anything else. But you know something? If you put enough nows together, you'll look back in a week and say, what a great week. And what a great month. And what I have just done, looked back and said, 20 years, what a great life. I want to close with this, which is my favorite theme. I think it's, if you will, my philosophy of how I try to live this program in my life. It's taken from the Sanskrit. It's in the front of the 24-hour day book. And it believes in that philosophy of only owning now, nothing else. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. And in its brief course lie all the realities and verities of existence, the bliss of growth, the splendor of action, and the glory of power. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. And Clumsy's going to ruin the equipment. I'm sorry, I apologize. Well, I hope I didn't wreck your... For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, but today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Chris, for inviting me, Lonnie, Judy, for having me, Cheryl, for taking me to dinner, Denise, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, for letting me come down to your beautiful country and share with you. I thank you, and I love you very much. Thank you.